What's up, everybody? Welcome to House Divided going into the weekend. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That's Chad Hastings. The video brought to you by Texas Card House and the guys over at Hijack Poker. If you want to play poker in person with real people, you can go to any of the locations, 6 of them all over the state of Texas, and play some Texas Card House. But if you want to play online, you can go to Hijack Poker. Go to hijackpoker.com, scan that QR code right there, and play poker against real people for real money. All you got to do is put your little credit card down or debit card down. It'll take your money, and then you can load up and go. They got a $10 tournament going on right now that, quite honestly, now that I've said it out loud, I want to play in, Chad. But we've got a lot to get into. There's a lot of portal discussion, and so I'm going to resist the urge to do that. In fact, hit them with the Portal Combat theme song because we're going in today, and I don't know if we're coming out.
There you go. Portal Combat time. Here we go. Get over here! Ah, yes, indeed.
Say what you will, but Blake, the super producer, knows how to make bangers.
He does. We are told, I communicated with him today, by next week we should be good and catch. I don't know if it's the name that we should start with, but somehow I feel like that new Portal Combat intro might involve Bert Auburn because he is now in the portal for Texas.
Well, I think where we should start is the newsiest things possible as it relates to Texas. Yeah. And I think it starts with the outgoings. Bert Auburn, a couple of hours after our show ended yesterday, he goes into the portal. That becomes official. Anwar Richardson's been painting a picture for weeks. And by the way, Bert Auburn leaves as the school's all-time leading scorer and field goal maker. So
how about that?
You know, it's sidebar real quick. When he announced that he was coming back around November of last year, that was seen as a major win for Texas. And I can remember when Jeff Banks did the interviews for the Arizona State game. I'm trying to remember which of those games. Yeah, it wasn't. They made everybody available in the lead up to the Cotton Bowl. Mm-hmm. And he talked about, like, Bert Auburn coming back. It's a huge deal for us next year. He doesn't make it to the Ohio State game as the starter. It felt like a loser leaves town match between him and Will Stone this offseason in the spring. Not even for that job, just to have a chance to maybe compete for that job in the fall. Auburn goes into the portal. I don't think that tells the entire story at the kicker position. In fact, I would just say everybody should keep their head on a swivel. I'm still not sure what's going to happen with Will Stone, but there have been some murmurs that he also could end up in the portal. So we'll get to the potential incomings in a second because there is some kicker stuff going on that maybe points us in the eventual direction we're going to find us in. Earlier today, third-string junior, fourth-year junior Malik Agbo announced that he was going into the portal, and we've hinted at that one for months.
Yeah, I know that one didn't shock you.
I remember when the portal closed back in January for Texas, and as soon as it closed, one of the things, Sukumel had gotten a tip that Agbo would likely go into the portal in the spring, but for his reasons that were germane to him, decided that he was going to wait until after spring ball to do it. We've hinted at that one, that was one to just keep an eye on, especially with the emergence of Nick Brooks moving in as that backup left tackle and essentially rendering Malik Agbo as a fourth-year junior without a place to play. So that one shouldn't surprise anybody. That gets Texas down to 80.
Okay.
I almost like, where do we start? Let's start with place kicker.
Right. And that, but real quick, that's 80 including Mosley? Or does
yes, that's 80 including Mosley.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes, good question. It is 80, including Mosley. I think there's a good chance that there's a kicker out of Texas State, and we've talked about him a little bit, Mason Shipley.
Mm-hmm.
He entered the portal. He's 31 of 35 in his career in field goals. He visited Oklahoma yesterday, and the vibe in Norman is that, that guy's going to Texas.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. In fact, the vibe in Norman suggests they think a commitment to Texas could happen as early as today.
Wow. Okay.
So,
Quancy.
When we did the next Longhorn commitment could be ...
Kicker cornbread. I like that phrase.
It could be a race, because I think that Mason Shipley from Texas State, and you know what, there's another guy just to keep an eye on.
Okay.
A kid named Cade Hensley from Coastal Carolina. He entered the portal yesterday. He was 16 of 19 on field goals a year ago and 5 of 6 between 40 and 49 yards. So there are some kicking options that are proven at least to some degree, but I think we may not need to look any further than Mason Shipley. And then the other one to keep an eye on, and he was on campus yesterday, I think is still on campus today, but Jack Indries, the tight end from California. There are no signs that kid's not going to end up at Texas. And I think he's the number one tight end available. I think he's one of the best overall available. In fact, Chad, if you want to put up the list, we can take a look at that. This is, as of this very moment, I have moved a couple of up. I've moved a couple down, but we have a new best available in the portal at this very moment.
Wow, I like we threw in the powder blues. We threw in the U of H powder blues on this one.
I like that. So look, let's just go through these real quick, and I'll give you a couple of mini updates, because this list is going to look completely different on Monday. Yep. It seems like only a matter of time before Nico ends up at UCLA. Bo Atkinson is visiting Georgia and Ohio State, and I'm not sure in what order, but those are the first two visits that he has lined up.
How about that?
Jack Indries, again, I think if there's actually some good tight ends available. So it's no terrible thing that Texas has the guy that's the best of the bunch. And I noticed, we'll get into some Emmett Mosley stuff that I did yesterday, but it was interesting to go through the top 100, 150, 200 pass catchers of college football from a year ago with all positions, wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends. And it was interesting coming across Jack Indries' name about the same time I came across Gunnar Helm's name. Their numbers ended up being pretty close.
Yeah, Indries had what? It was like 56 catches to Helm's 60, something like that.
Yeah, and in my head, they did it in terms of yardage. Okay. So Helm was ahead of him, but only by about 5 or 6 spots. Yeah. And that includes all players in college football, not just the tight ends. I mean, they just happened to be kind of bunched together. And I was like, oh, look at that. They're kissing cousins. They're neighbors of each other, just in terms of production from a year ago. So Jeremiah Wilson is the one I want to talk a little bit about, Chad.
This is the dude in the pick.
He's the dude in the pick. He debuts at number 4 for me, and I wonder if he should be as high as number 1 or number 2. I kind of am a little – I could take any of the top 4 and put them in almost any order. But Jeremiah Wilson was one of the best corners in the Big 12 a year ago. He was at Syracuse, transferred to Houston. In his 1 year at Houston, he graded out really well. I think he was the top-rated returning cornerback in the Big 12, according to Pro Football Focus. I think that he had 4 interceptions, 5 passes. He's a good player. Mm-hmm. We know at Orange Bloods that Jeremiah Wilson is interested in Texas.
Okay.
Now, is Texas interested in him? Don't know. I don't. But as soon as Jason Sukamel and I, especially Jason, he's really the one with the intel on this, saw Wilson's name enter the portal, it was like, huh? Now, pull the graphic down. I'm going to pull it back up in a second because I want to go through the rest of those names and give updates. But I think some context is needed with the kid from Houston for a second. We're going to, on this show right now, Chad, we're going to talk about the one dirty little thing about this Texas football team that you're not going to hear in the mainstream. You're not even going to really hear in the low stream. I'm going to say the thing that I hear whispered. It's not the first time we will have had this conversation. And when I did it the first time, people thought it was me setting up somebody leaving through the portal. Behind the scenes, there's a feeling that Texas isn't good enough at cornerback. That a year ago, there was a feeling that Jahdae Barron was separate from everybody else, and that whatever Malik Muhammad was, he wasn't Barron, and that they didn't think he was elite. In fact, when we were having the conversation around December time portal, January time portal, there was some thought that Malik Muhammad might want first-round cornerback kind of money, and that there was a sense that that might not be the limit that they would be willing to go for. That what they've seen from him just isn't elite of the elite yet. I don't think that's happened in the spring. I don't think Kobe Black has been at that level. I don't think Warren Roberson has been at that level. They've got players. Their second team is probably closer to the first team guys than most people realize. But that's not quite the compliment. You know, if you're starting Terrell Brown and Cedric Griffin and you're like, you know, that Aaron Ross guy is almost as good as those two guys. Well, then you're like, oh, so we've got 3 NFL cornerbacks. The compliment of saying that they don't think guys like Kobe Black and Roberson are that far away from a Gilbo or a Muhammad is not them giving the backups too much praise. I think it's establishing they don't think they're elite at corner. So when the kid from Houston goes in, there is a part of me that went, oh. Now, think about it. We know that a year ago they went after the Washington transfer out from corner, and they ended up not getting him. He goes to Oregon.
Is that Takario Davis, or am I thinking of the
No, that was the Arizona cornerback.
That's Arizona, the other guy. Oh, Malik Muhammad.
Well, that's the kid at Texas.
No, hold on. I'm almost there. It's is it Muhammad a part of his name? I can't think of his name.
He is Malik Muhammad's like cousin.
Malik Muhammad, right. Anyway, somebody's going to put it in the chat for me.
I'm not even going to say it. I'm just going to let it organically.
You know the name.
Happen.
You know the name, and now you're torturing me.
You're like, Malik Muhammad. No, it's not Malik Muhammad. So Texas likes their corners, and they think they've got a lot of guys that they like, Chad. But I don't know if they love anybody. And I think that there's a segment of Texas fans who think Malik Muhammad is close to being elite because he was a starter on an elite defense a year ago and in an elite secondary. But I've never got the sense from people inside the program that they think Malik Muhammad is elite. So I'm not saying that this kid from Houston, put the full screen back up there, Chad. I'm not saying that this kid from Houston walks into the Texas starting lineup. I don't know. What I'm telling you is that Jeremiah Wilson is really good, really productive at Houston, and that I know he would have an interest in Texas, and I know Texas would have an interest in upgrading their cornerback situation. So just keep your head on a swivel, okay, guys? Now, the rest of these names, I can't know that I've seen a lot with Camper yet. Smart money looks like Andrew Simpson's going to end up at USC. Micah Hudson is visiting Utah this weekend, but could end up
Mm.
back at Texas Tech. This one, number 8's really interesting to me because Trevor Pena was one of the nation's top receivers a year ago at Syracuse. He put up huge numbers. I think he caught 80, 90 passes. He was very productive, Chad.
Okay.
Well, he's the guy who the Syracuse coach has been in the portal or saying about the portal, I'm not going to pay a guy $2 million. Have you seen this?
No.
The coach at Syracuse, the head coach, is like, I'm not paying anybody $2 million to play wide receiver. Because basically alluding that this guy, Trevor Pena, tried to hustle them up for $2 million.
Right.
And he was like, you can walk. Well, Trevor Pena is at Penn State this weekend.
Wow. Damn.
So look, coach, you may not have wanted to pay that guy however much money he was asking for, but he might go play on the best team in your region and a team that's going to compete for a national championship. And it goes back to the Tennessee conversation with Nico, Chad. Like when you huff and puff in 2025 about NIL and the kind of stance that you're taking, like you got to almost ask yourself, what is it that you're asking yourself? Javion Thomas, I haven't seen a lot with him yet. The running back out of Cal, they had 5 running backs going to the portal. And I've got Davon Mitchell listed at number 10. He could be just as easily number 25. I love his talent. I don't know if I love his brain and like his character based on the stuff that they've said about him while he was at Oklahoma. But man, the guy's like the prototype physical presence of what you want in a tight end. So he's on the list for me only because he's like a Frankenstein of tight ends from a physical standpoint when he's in shape.
Gotcha. Okay. There's a look at the available portal guys. Updated.
I mean, that's second, Chad.
That's right. Updated with Jeremiah Wilson there at number 4. Also, real quick, who was it in the chat that saved me? TK, I appreciate it. Jabbar Muhammad is who I was trying to think of. Yes, absolutely correct.
I thought once you said Malik Muhammad, you were just going to have it.
I know. Just for some reason, that name would not pop in my head. By the way, speaking of names, Tex Blonde sends us Jordan Shipley kinfolk. I don't believe that's true. I saw what you may have seen, Tex Blonde, but I don't think Mason Shipley and Jordan Shipley are related. I don't believe they are. I did see there's a weird blurb out there that says they're brothers, Catch. But then I read a little further and I read the parents' names of Mason. I'm like, well, I think I know Jordan's dad's name, and that's not Jordan's dad. I don't think it's the same family.
No. Shipley's not exactly Smith.
Right.
But I would offer that in Central Texas, it's not far away.
Yeah, there's a few of them out there. Right?
You go out into the hill country, because the kid's from Liberty Hill.
Yes, you're going to run into some Shipleys now.
I mean, these definitely play cousins with the Shipley family, but they got enough of them out there that I don't think everybody – who did I do that with? We got a new sales guy for Orange Bloods, Chad, who is from the Metroplex.
Mm-hmm.
And his last name is Ajay.
Oh, I see.
And I had to ask the question.
Yeah, that one's unique enough.
And he kind of said the same thing. He's like, well, in Nigeria, Ajay is not exactly like Smith. And I was like, woo! Because I was
you were close.
I was so glad he didn't say it's not like Smith, but it is a little bit like Williams. There's a lot of us. People don't ask that question. But yeah, so no, not from the Jay Ajay family, but I had to ask the question. I was like, this guy's from the Metroplex. Jay Ajay is from Frisco. It could be.
Yeah. You had every right to be asking that. Just like y'all have every right to throw in a super chat. If you want, it'll go right to the top of the list. If we get it up over 400 of you in that Specs chat, we're talking portal all over the place today. Portal day 3. We've hit some of the Texas guys that have gone in. Bert Auburn, Malik Agbo. We're talking about maybe some of the guys Texas might be interested in, tight end position, and others. We will continue the discussion. Also, let's thank some of our great partners around here. Give you a few ideas today of what you might want to do over the weekend. How about going and having a wonderful drink over at the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. Weather's great right now. Catch you a little of that spring weather. Get on over there. Indoor and outdoor seating. All these great cocktails, plus pineapple Deep Eddy vodkas out there. So you know they're making some cocktails. Go have their pina colada, their whatever the other pineapple stuff they've got. I got to get out there and try them. You do it as well. Thursdays through Sundays. So we're here on a Friday. That's 11 to 7. Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. Have some of that great barbecue as well. And make sure you mention that you heard about it on Orange Bloods Live. Sounds tasty. All right, Catch. Let's see. Is the next place to go maybe the defensive tackle story with that cat out of Maryland? Is that the next guy?
I mean, we can, although that guy kind of came and gone.
He did. I just wanted to get a quick thought from you maybe on that because I saw the name Lavon Johnson from Maryland. I know he visited Texas, and then literally a couple hours even before this show began, he already had a new home hanging with Belichick in Chapel Hill.
I think a couple of things about that. One, it is a real, first of all, I guess I'm like getting ready to say three things at once, and then I try to decide what should be first of all, and I'm not quite sure. He's not that good, really. He might have started at Maryland had he stayed there. Maybe, but not nailed on. I think it speaks to a couple of things. One, when Texas says they're interested in defensive tackles, man, they are interested in defensive tackles. Now, the other thing that I noticed, man, Chad, when we talk about defensive tackles, their value, I don't know how to talk about value. It might be that Alex January is worth $17 million. I don't know. Georgia, along with Ohio State and Texas, most talented roster in the country, right? They're bringing in a cat named Joshua Horton out of Miami that has barely played at Miami. And then they're bringing in a kid named Cedric Smith out of Alabama A&M that was okay as a freshman last year at Alabama A&M. And it just dawned on me, as if we didn't already know this. We've talked about Dominic Williams, and it's like, these guys are any good at all. When you go into the portal, and they're probably never going to be more valuable. You've got guys that aren't even Jags who are going into the portal, and they're visiting the likes of Texas and Georgia.
Yeah.
Because to find guys that can play, they're just at an absolute premium. And it was stunning. It's like, because I think when I saw that the kid that was visiting from Maryland yesterday, I was like, oh God, well, that's kind of a step down. If you're Texas and you're trying to go portal shopping, that guy felt like a body for me, Chad. But then I looked at what Georgia's looking at, and you know what? Georgia has – this is just going to blow your mind, Chad, but Georgia it feels like they are light at defensive tackle and edge.
Wow.
Of all the things in the world, the sign that the apocalypse might be upon us.
Yeah.
Georgia doesn't think that they feel like they've got real defensive line issues. So,
and the biggest reason that is happening for them, of course, is that the draft is almost upon us, and they're going to have both of those things. D tackles and edges get drafted. So it's obviously, even for them, it's about replenishing it. It is such a hard position to consistently have badasses. And it sounds like the biggest dogs are, being reminded of that right now.
And they're in on everybody with a pulse at defensive end. Like they're looking at Bo Atkinson. We mentioned Ohio State and Georgia both setting up visits with him. The number 2 defensive end / edge in the portal is a guy named Elo Madozi from Army.
Okay.
And he was good at Army. He's a top 25. He's not at a level where it's like, oh, he has to be in the top 10, but he's He's in the top 25. But like, this is Georgia we're talking about. So I don't think people realize everybody has needs. And the thing that you're trying to do as much as anything is address your needs with as much absolute quality as you can. And the one thing that you will find is this is the portal where the guys from small schools are going to get attention. You know, I'm over on a Michigan website and I'm reading about a cornerback named Tion Parks out of Illinois State. I got no idea who the hell that is.
Right.
Gary Bryant is a linebacker out of South Dakota. Another guy is getting a lot of looks. TJ Bush is an edge guy out of Liberty. Tons of SEC looks. You look at defensive tackles. I mentioned Cedric Smith from Alabama A&M, and he's not a guy that's played 3 or 4 years at Alabama A&M, and he's played, I think, 1 season. I don't even know that he was a starter. And it's not like he's 330. He's 6'4", 280. There's nothing about his profile that screams, oh, that's why Georgia would be looking at him, other than everybody's hard up for defensive tackles.
Everybody needs bodies.
There's a kid named Elijah St. John out of Long Island that's getting some looks. There's a kid named Tyler McMullen, who's a tackle out of Southeast Missouri State, and another tackle named Bryce George out of Ferris State. There's a tight end that Oklahoma, I think, has on campus right now named Lance Mason out of Missouri State.
Wow. These small school guys are taking advantage, aren't they?
This is when you – and look, in the SEC, you can't go after other SEC's talent.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I question those handcuffs that the SEC has put on itself over time.
I saw a story that Michigan's bringing in a running back this weekend, Chad, for an official visit from the portal named CJ Hester out of UMass.
Okay.
Should they not get CJ Hester, their backup is a guy named John Volker out of Princeton.
Damn.
Like, that's where Michigan is shopping for running backs.
Yeah, that's crazy. But see, again, to this point, I know we feel like we harp on this rule maybe too much, but think about it, Catch. If what you just said is the case, Kirby Smart is going to that level to find D tackles, and Greg Sankey is clearly sending him a message. By the way, all those other 15 schools that you deal with every year, you can't have any of those. Any of them. That's crazy. Well,
and I think somebody made a point on Orange Bloods that I think is fundamentally wrong. And I think this is where the spring portal is most important, Chad. Because on an 85-man scholarship, right, on an 85-man roster, most teams don't play more than 50 guys. That if you go and look at all of the players that play, say, more than 6 games, usually you don't hit above 50. Where a school can really cheat the margins, and there's no way to quantify this, is that if they use the spring portal correctly, that number can grow maybe from 50-ish to 51 to 52 to 53 to 54. It might not seem like a big deal, but if you're traveling 65 on a road game, but you're playing 60 or you're playing 58 and the other team is playing 10 less guys, it does add up to, I don't know what it quantifies to, but having a deeper and more talented team in terms of volume, both at the top end, but the overall thing, like, that is what you're going for here. And so if you're Texas, when you bring somebody in, I think it's everybody wants to know immediately, well, is that guy going to be a starter? And it's like, well, maybe, yes. But is he absolutely going to play? Because if the answer is yes, and before yesterday you didn't have that guy on your roster, you've added somebody to this team that is going to make this team better this year. So if we just look at what they've done, they've lost nobody in the portal that they were going to count on. None. But every guy that they've added so far, and I think the guys that we've talked about, whether it be Jack injuries or a Mason. See there, I just did it. Yeah, Mason Shipley. For that's just going to happen, I think. But
Yeah.
all of these guys that we're talking about are guys. Even the kid that came in from Maryland. You know what I initially thought of? I thought, well, he's Trill Carter. You know, like he might play 150 snaps and we'll know that he plays, but he'll just be a contributing cog in the wheel. But you have to have those. Juan Davis was like that. And you know what? They're missing some of that at the tight end position. That just a really good, solid player every week. He's going to play every week. He's going to play 20, 25 plus snaps. I think that's what the really good teams are trying to add right now. And when the season rolls around and you have the best high-end talent and the deepest roster, makes a real formidable duo to have to beat as opposition.
Yeah. And just to clarify, Catch, when you're talking about Texas not losing something from the portal or not losing something to the portal that they really would have wanted, you mean in the spring window so far, correct? You're just talking spring window?
I was talking about recently. I was thinking Malik Agbo. I was thinking, obviously, although I hate to say it, Burt Auburn. But, I mean, at the end of the year, Burt Auburn was unplayable.
Right. The only name that popped in my head as you said that, just for the full scope, would be Niblack. That's the only one that popped in my head in terms of a guy they probably would have wanted, but we've already established that from the winter period.
Yeah, I was thinking from the spring primarily.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's nobody. Yeah, none of these names, because we. It's funny, we talked about the realism of the kicker thing just yesterday on the show.
Yeah.
Catch, and you're almost saying it. It's like I felt mean as I was saying it, but it's like, do you trust him to try to make that kick in Columbus? The answer was clearly no. And you thought it was no yesterday, and you were right. And it just was a matter of making it official. And Burt Auburn had to realize, man, I got to go find somewhere else, because in the biggest moments, they didn't trust me. And it is also true to say in a couple of the big moments, he let them down, but ultimately they didn't trust him when it came to that moment. So best of luck to him.
And this, you know, a slightly different outcome to the final 6 weeks of his college career, and he's getting ready for the NFL draft and has a long resume that I think gets him into an NFL training camp. I don't know that Burt Auburn's ever going to make an NFL team, but he's experienced enough that I think with a good season, I think that's the position that he would be in. He wouldn't be drafted or anything like that, but I think there's a chance that he could have gone to a camp. And then the kicking in the NFL is weird. I didn't necessarily know that Cameron Dicker was going to stick. I didn't think he was going to stick when he stuck. And sometimes once it happens, it just happens.
Yeah.
But, you know, his career can be saved. He just needs to go have another good year. And then, you know, this was a guy that if he'd just been a little bit better, he walks on senior day last year, and he's the school's all-time leading scorer. He's not a legend, but he's on top of some records. He still is. So it's, you know, it's almost sad the way that it ended, because a guy that did have the success that he's had, you'd like to think would have a happier ending than having to make a portal announcement.
Catch, we had a chat question about a D tackle, and I'll get that to you here in just a second, as people are looking for who Texas might be interested in at that position. Real quick, let me give you all another idea for a place you might want to hit over the weekend. How about a good brunch? You're looking for a brunch spot? How about Taste on Main? There's some brunch items, including those beignets in the upper left, some great drinks in the upper right. That's like a little less than half of the Sam Elliott's mustache. I started drinking and then realized I should probably take a picture of it for a graphic. And then, yeah, that's how good the drink is. Check them out. They're in downtown Buda. It's a great experience, real casual, and it is also an incredible steakhouse. If you want to go outside of the brunch time, brunch is like 10 to 3, Saturdays and Sundays. Make sure you get your reservation, but go check them out. downtown Buda. I'll throw up a QR code for you real quick. Tell Travis, Tamara, and the crew that we said hello here at Orange Bloods Live. Again, these are the same people that bring you Hayes City Store, so you're getting that same attention to detail no matter what it is that you're having on that incredible menu. So get on over, check them out. It's Taste on Main. All right, Catch. Let me scan, make sure I didn't miss a super chat. Okay. Somebody asked a question about this D tackle. Michael says, any interest in the Indiana D tackle? Marcus Burris, former Aggie, seems like the most productive D tackle currently in the portal. I guess that's kind of a follow-up to the discussion you were just having. Like, are there any D tackles you've seen that pique interest a little bit? And like, is this the type of guy that teams are having to look at?
I mean, judging by some of the visits, maybe he's visiting Ohio State this weekend. I don't know. My impression of Burris is that he was a Jag at A&M. He's kind of a Jag at Indiana. I mean, he played a little bit at Indiana, but wasn't a starter there, I don't believe. Was just kind of a contributor.
Right. And while he was at A&M, there was a crowd at defensive tackle. Like, there was some talent at that position. He didn't separate himself there, but the fact that he wouldn't have separated himself catch at either spot, that speaks to me.
I mean, he'll have interest. There just aren't enough guys available that he won't have some interest. I don't think he'd be of interest at Texas, but I could be wrong. I wouldn't have thought they'd have brought them. When I saw the kid from Maryland come in, I just thought, what the hell?
Yeah.
Because that guy, I think, is the 5th or 6th defensive tackle on the Texas roster. But I think, again, we haven't specifically mentioned this point, but I think it's another example of when we say that Texas is going to be aggressive in the portal, if they get a sniff of a guy they have an interest in, they may be bringing that guy in like that. And that's what happened with that guy. He ends up going to North Carolina. I can't imagine the NIL money on the Texas side could have been much. And I think that him going to Texas probably was all UNC needed to do whatever the hell they needed to do to get that thing done.
That might have got him to the finish line.
I think that got to the finish line. Yeah. I do have to mention, there's a story out of Oklahoma that is not my story. So, I have to be careful about how I pass this along. I don't want to be the guy that read something on Barstool and then spoke. I don't want to be that guy, right? It's like, I just saw something on the internet and I read it. But so Oklahoma was recruiting this receiver from Illinois State named Xavier Lloyd.
Mm-hmm.
Dude caught 66 passes for 912 and 6 touchdowns a year ago. And he's being recruited by Missouri, Louisville, Wisconsin. Like, he's got schools looking at him. Our OU rival site had reported that this dude in Oklahoma were lined up and ready to go.
Okay.
And then something was described as a hiccup in the process.
Uh-oh.
And then, according to Parker Thune of the OU rival site, quote, the potential addition of Lloyd would put Oklahoma over the allotted monetary pool set aside for wide receivers under Jim Nagy's direction. The powers that be at Oklahoma are working it out as we speak. From what I understand, the whole thing is all but ironed out in principle, but it's a holding pattern while the budgetary issues are reconciled. They didn't get reconciled. And OU is out on Lloyd.
Boy, there are a lot of layers there. You're out on an Illinois State wide receiver that didn't fit into the Nagy plan because your NIL ran out or didn't.
Well, they're over their NIL budget at that position.
Ran out at that position, right? In that room, whatever you allotted, you're already over it. So you can't do it. That's crazy.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack there.
There really is. Like, there's a lot to think about. What were you discussing? What was the number that the Illinois State guy was asking for that you ended up having to say, sorry, man, we couldn't hit it? Because then catch the Illinois State guy will get asked by, people, hey, man, I thought it was Oklahoma. What's going on? Then he gets to say out loud to those people, yeah, you didn't have enough NIL money. Well, what were you asking for?
Well, and I think I saw that one of the things that the OU, the spin on this was, well, they're at 13 wide receivers. I think that's what I read.
Man.
And then I was like, well, okay, well, they don't lack numbers. And it really put into perspective where Texas is at from a scholarship standpoint when
with that 7 or 8 number, right?
They were at 8 and now they've added 1, but they're at 9, but Oklahoma has 13 and OU has wide receiver needs. It just speaks a little bit to Texas doesn't need to be at 13, but they could be at 10 and be just fine. They could probably be at 11 and no concerns would be given about the volume of wide receivers on campus. So I thought that story was really interesting.
Absolutely.
Because you said it. There's a wide receiver named Xavier Lloyd out of Illinois State that's got schools bidding on him, right?
Yeah.
You've got Oklahoma. In this new world, they have a budget. And I actually have no opinions on whether that's bad, good, I don't know. It's so new.
And catch, it's a room. Think about how much they lost. It's not like you could sit there and go, right, but they've got to pay that guy, and that guy. And that. Like Anderson ended up at what? LSU. Farouk's gone. I mean, they cleaned it out. The top, what?
Those guys weren't making a lot of money. Had they stayed, it would have. The thing is, I can't help but think about the guy from Arkansas Pine Bluff that they brought in that they gave a lot of NIL money to.
That's true.
And now he's out with a broken leg and expected to miss most, if not all, of the season. And
yeah, it's him and Burks, right? Those are the 2 big ones they have now.
And Burks a year ago, for all of the money they would have invested on NIL, that guy doesn't ever really stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just, I think we think about this in the NFL and sports, when a team like the 76ers doesn't have a healthy Joel Embiid or a healthy Paul George, and you're like, oh my God, that's $80 million of the salary cap. Like, you think about it in terms of the investment that's being made that's not being lived up to. I don't know that it's a brand new world of college football. I think, again, though, it really speaks to me about where Oklahoma is shopping for help.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever they're going to pay, whoever pays Xavier Lloyd, whatever he gets paid, they don't know that he can play at this level. This is sometimes, occasionally, these guys pan out, and you get a Jared Verse who goes from Albany to Florida State, first-round draft pick, NFL player. That happens occasionally. But more times than not, these guys come and go, and you realize, oh, that guy was at Illinois State for a reason.
Yeah.
He's not good enough to play at Illinois. So I don't know. All of this is really fast. I love giving these under-the-radar small school guys their shot. It feels very Eminem 8 Mile, where in the past, a guy like Xavier Lloyd just plays at Illinois State forever. Now you got a chance to come up in the world at one of these schools if you're good enough. So I love the fact that these guys get chances. I don't know that I want to be the fan of the school that has to give these guys chances.
Yeah. Catch, there's 2 guys I've been thinking of. Every time I think portal, there's 2 legends I always think of. Can you imagine what the path of Walter Payton and Jerry Rice would have been if the portal existed? Just imagine those 2 guys. Where could they have ended up? What would they have done? I mean, they already are who they are, but they were always that diamond in the rough.
Well, we would have known them not from coming from the SWAC.
Right. What if they would have been big time already? What if we knew? What if we knew what Jerry Rice was as he's getting ready?
Oh, all these years later, if you go all those years back, Jerry Rice is playing in the SEC.
Yep.
Before he goes pro.
And where's Walter? Walter's getting like 28, 30 totes a game somewhere big time and just killing it.
We go 30 for 30 on Walter Payton at Alabama.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Just would have been insane. Oh, man. My God. All right. We got a lot of portal stuff we've hit. Now, Catch, any other portal stuff we need to hit before you get into your Emmett Mosley update? Because I am really interested to hear some of the Emmett Mosley update stuff.
No, we're good. We can move on to Emmett Mosley.
Okay, we'll do that. Let's give Specs their love real quick. Crawling up towards 600 of you in that Specs chat. Remember to get stocked up at Specs.
Have you heard the news? Specs is turning 63, and we're celebrating you. Whether you're looking for whiskey, canned cocktails, or wine, Specs has it all with Texas-sized savings all month long. Specs. Cheers to save.
Specs is one of the few places in the world, Catch, where I use the little handheld cart thing. I don't really use that anywhere else. I'm a big fan of it at Specs, though.
Well, yeah.
It keeps things efficient, but it also helps me not to buy the whole store sometimes. Sometimes I can't buy the whole store at Specs. If I do the push cart, I end up with too much stuff. Well, handheld keeps it under control.
Nobody wants to carry bottles around.
Yeah.
Like that's just
perfect.
As a naturally clumsy person, I need carts in a store like that.
Yeah. And I always and then the cart's perfect too. You got you put your 6-packs on one side and your big bottles on the other, and you keep them separate so things don't break. So it's good. All right. So throw in a super chat if you like. It'll go right to the top of the list. But Catch, you have updated info for Texas fans on Emmett Mosley and just what may have been achieved here in the portal.
Well, I've said this since Monday that there's a part of me that I just haven't been able to quite make sense of the lack of buzz about Emmett Mosley going to Texas. And one of the things that stood out to me about what he did a year ago is that he's not a redshirt freshman. That he played last year at Stanford as a true freshman.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really remember him as a recruit. So he wasn't one of these guys that comes in and you're like, oh, Ryan Wingo, for example, where when he comes in and he plays as a true freshman, you're kind of like, well, yeah, that's exactly what we expect. It'd be the same thing if Jamie French has a nice season as a true freshman. Well, yeah, that guy was supposed to be that. He's really good.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, Catch, part of the reason for that is there was an injury late in high school for him, I think. If I'm reading up correctly on him, I think something happened in that senior year, not catastrophic, but something happened to kind of set it back a little bit. And I think that changed the perception of him going into college.
Well, not a big time prospect.
Yeah.
And that's funny because I'm going to read you a list here in a second, and almost everybody on it is a big time prospect.
Okay.
But I was like, this guy had a really good true freshman season. At first, I thought about it in the context of former Texas players. And I mentioned that the only guys in the history of Texas football, here, I'll give you the stats.
Okay.
Is at the end of this, the only receiver in UT history with more than 48 receptions as a true freshman was Xavier Worthy in 2021 with 62. See,
gotcha.
Only time any true freshman wide receiver at the University of Texas has ever had more than the 48 receptions that Mosley had a year ago, or Mosley had a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Only Xavier Worthy, 12 in 2021, and Roy Williams, 8 in 2000, have ever had more than the 6 touchdowns that he had as a true freshman. That's it. That's the company.
Damn.
The only receivers in UT history with more than the 525 yards that he had, again, Worthy in 2021, Roy Williams in 2000, BJ Johnson in 2000. That's it.
Elite company. Yep.
Now, here's the other thing that is really interesting about all of this. And this is like my time to kill moment where I'm McConaughey giving this speech, and now I say the thing that blows your mind.
Mm-hmm.
He did all of this in 9 games.
That's not. I mean that's remarkable. The numbers were there. The fact that it's 9 games that's crazy.
Everything that I just said is true. He did it in 9 games.
Wow.
Whereas Worthy would have had, I guess, 12 and 21 because they didn't make it to a bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
But Roy Williams would have had 12 in 2000. They would have played 11, and then he played in a bowl game. Same with B.J. Johnson. In recent years, you've had freshmen play. Ryan Wingo this year would have played in a bazillion games. This kid did it in 9. And then here's the other thing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that stood out to me about Emmett Mosley was that in his last 3 games, he combined for 26 catches for 332 yards and 5 touchdowns. So at the end of November on a bad Stanford team, he goes at Louisville, at Cal, at San Jose State, and he goes off for 26 for 332 and 5. I took the top 10 freshman receivers from a year ago, all of the big war daddies, and I took the best 3-game stretch that any of them had at any point during the season. So whereas I used the last 3 games for Mosley, all of these receivers could go.
So you allowed for any 3 for the other guys?
Any 3.
Okay.
So Ryan Williams for Alabama had 13 catches for 337 and 3.
Okay.
Against Wisconsin, Georgia, and Vanderbilt back in September.
Okay. 13 fewer catches. All right.
13 fewer catches, 5 fewer yards, 1 fewer touchdown. Wait, right. I'm looking at the wrong thing. No, he had 325. So 7 fewer yards. Hold on. Emmett Mosley had 332 and Ryan Williams had 337. So yeah, 5. But Williams only had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Smith, 18 for 325 and 5. So very similar in terms of touchdowns and yards.
Yeah, I mean, just though, not that, I mean, obviously you can continue with those 2 comps right there.
That's all you need to hear, right?
That gets my attention if I'm a Texas fan. You just gave them the comparison between the 2 freshmen we couldn't stop hearing about last year, and you're saying each of their best 3-game stretch was not as good as the last 3 games of the guy you just got in the portal.
Not in terms of receptions.
Not in terms of, right. In terms
if
of,
we're talking receiving yards, Ryan Williams had 337, Mosley had 332, Smith had 325.
Okay, so he's right there.
If we're talking touchdowns, Mosley and Smith both had 5 and Williams had 3.
Yeah. It's impressive. So
now you can go down the list, whether it's Cam Coleman or Bryant Wesco or TJ Moore or Ryan Wingo, and the numbers just decrease.
So you're saying Mosley had 5 touchdowns in those last 3 games?
Yes.
That means he only had one touchdown the whole rest of the season?
Well, he only played 6 other games, Chad.
Man.
He didn't play the first 3 games of the season. His first game was September 28th.
Once Stanford figured out they needed to throw him the ball, stuff started happening.
He catches the 26 receptions. And the only other guy that caught more during this 3-game segment that I looked at, Cam Coleman, and you'll remember this because some of it was against A&M.
Uh-huh.
But he caught 22 for 306 and 6 touchdowns.
I was going to say, I've heard that name somewhere.
The problem is when we start doing Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith, and Cam Coleman, what do they all have in common?
5
of them. Stars. All of them.
Big time recruits. Well, and Catch, here's the note that I was remembering. I'm reading directly from the War Room. Shout out to Anwar because it's one of his notes in the War Room. Most Longhorns may forget Texas recruited Mosley in high school. According to Rivals, Mosley visited Texas on June 16th, 2022. What happened? Mosley sustained an ACL injury and missed most of his senior season. However, Mosley recovered and played well at Stanford. Texas jumped at the opportunity to sign him.
Chad, look, I had somebody tell me that everything that I said was Billy Lucci level of hyperbole.
Oh, wow.
The thing is, I'm not giving any opinions.
I was going to say, I haven't heard a lot of hyperbole yet.
last year among true freshmen, in 9 games, Emmett Mosley ranked second in the country. And that's even with Ryan Williams. That's ahead of TJ Moore, Nick Marsh, Bryant Wesco, Cam Coleman, Joseph Williams, Ryan Wingo. In terms of yards, he only ranked 8th. He only had 525, but that's in 9 games.
Right. And again, factor in an ACL in his senior year of high school. The recovery process, when during the season is he able to feel right again? And he was able to be that good at the end of the year. If he's totally healthy in 2025 and ready to go.
If he plays in 12 or 13 games instead of 9, he finishes in a top 4 with yardage with Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams. Probably Mosley comes in there, and then Bryant Wesco.
Yeah.
So, guys, I'm not telling you that this guy's as good as those guys. I'm telling you that a year ago on a bad team with no quarterback, he produced like one of these guys. That's not me giving some wild, hyperbole-filled opinion. I'm telling you what the stats say.
Yeah.
And so when I look at this guy, I'm not hyping him up as anything other than to say a year ago, he was one of the most productive freshman wide receivers in the country. Full stop.
Yep. And this point Tex Blonde brings up is valid. Does the talent transfer to the SEC, different level of competition? Yes, exactly. That's what we're going to find out. But the numbers are the numbers. And
he does this in the ACC. I thought it was really interesting looking at his game by games, Chad. Let me pull this back up again, because I think his first game was against Miami, if I'm not mistaken. No, his first game was against Clemson.
Okay.
So he comes in, it's week 5.
And they got slaughtered in the game, right? Clemson whipped him pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he catches 7 for 48 and a touchdown.
Yeah, by the end of that game, and watching through the highlight package, by the end of that game, the announcers are saying his name real matter-of-factly. It's like, well, there's Mosley again. There's Mosley. It's Mosley. What a game. I mean, he really established himself in that game pretty quickly.
And that's his debut.
Yeah.
So when does that convert over to the SEC? I mean, does it – look, to me, there are 2 separate questions. Does it convert when Georgia, Texas, Alabama play each other? Because does it convert to the SEC? Probably. The SEC is not at every tier through the conference at a level that a guy in the ACC can't play at.
Mm-hmm.
And what we know is this guy balled against Clemson. He balled against Louisville. He actually played his best against the highest ranked best teams on the Stanford schedule. They didn't win, but he did his thing. Yeah, it's one of those where a little bit like Matthew Golden a couple of years ago when he played for Houston against Texas. It's like, well, they didn't win, but Matthew Golden and his 2 touchdowns, he gets to walk with his head held up high.
Yeah, he got your attention. Just like the highlights of Mosley will get your attention. There's no doubt about it. And I'm glad you dug into those and looked it up. So that full picture it's a great story. If you think about it, just on its face, that's a great story. You're being pretty highly recruited, ACL in your senior year, but you recover well enough that by midway to the end of your true freshman year, you don't redshirt, you're not out the full year, your true freshman year, you're able to make an impact like that. And
he also started that game against Clemson. So that is really remarkable when you think about it.
Yeah.
They rolled him out as a starter on the road at Clemson in week 5, and he hadn't so much as had some – because I think we think about how Texas does this. And there's almost – it doesn't matter who it is. There's almost always unless it's Kelvin Banks and there's just an absolute need. We watch freshmen work their way in.
Learning curves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that he didn't debut against Clemson in a blowout game in the 3rd quarter or you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
Impressive that I can't stress this enough. The company when we talk about Power 4 conference receivers last year, his statistics are in line with Ryan Williams at Alabama, Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State, Cam Coleman at Auburn, Bryant Wesco at Clemson. All of those guys are future first-round draft picks.
Right. And it's all guys you would remember last year as college football fans, right? Those first two guys easily. But you remember all four of them at times during the year.
I'm not saying that Emmett Mosley is better than those guys. I'm saying that last year as a true freshman, he produced exactly like those guys at the college level in a power conference against real teams. This is not Illinois State. This is not what we're talking about. So, again, I'm not making any wild predictions about Emmett Mosley. What I'm saying is the headline on ESPN.com should have been Longhorns land top freshman 2024 receiver for Arch. Because that's what he was. Mm-hmm. That's not an opinion. He had more touchdowns. He had the same number of touchdowns last year in fewer games as Ryan Williams at Alabama.
Yeah, no, it's an absolutely fair point. Now, speaking of one of those other guys, Sandman couldn't resist catch. Are we still hunting for that Clemson wide receiver?
They need to. I don't think that me going, and again, I'm not even going gaga for Mosley. I'm just going gaga for the year that he had a year ago. That, you know, it's rare when Texas ever gets their hands on anything and it's underrated.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those, and you think about a guy like Trey Moore a year ago, we probably overrated him. We were talking about, is he going to be a double-digit sack guy coming from UTSA? And
yeah, a little too much expectation there, probably.
Usually, it's too much.
Yep.
And this guy, some of the immediate responses were, well, he'd be a good backup for Ryan Wingo and Parker Livingstone. And it's like, okay, maybe. But then it means those two guys are really good.
Yeah. And remember, Sandman, just like the running back that you might want from West Virginia, the Clemson wide receiver that you're referencing is not in the portal yet. Just so you remember.
Hey man, speak it into existence.
Just remember that part of it. Sailor Joe throws in, even if it doesn't translate automatically, hoping with the 3 years of eligibility, he uses at least 2 with Texas. There you go. He does have 3 left to use.
Technically, he has 4 to play 3. So
that's true. You're right. Yeah, if he really wants it. If y'all want to throw in a chat, you can. Super chats will go right to the top. Interesting stuff there on Emmett Mosley. Texas obviously has him. That is the one
those
point.
Numbers surprise you though, right?
So far, it was when I saw 48 catches and going through it, just kind of the first run. I thought that's a big number, and I started comparing it to what Golden did at Houston, what Golden did last year at Texas, and I'm like, okay, because it was 10. It's only 10 fewer than what Golden did last year. That big time year of almost 1,000 yards, 58 catches is what he had. I'm like, wow, that's only 10 fewer than what Golden did last year. And Golden may end up being the first, just true wide receiver off the board in the draft.
In 9 games.
But I never compared it to Williams and Smith like you did. And the fact that it was only 9 games, I never saw that part. I kept looking at the numbers. I did not see the number of games. That does make it even more impressive.
That's the aha moment. It's my time to kill moment.
Yeah, it is. And again, you factor all that in with the injury stuff or whatever, 9 games, that kind of production. Now you extrapolate. Now you go, okay, Steve Sarkisian, Arch Manning, and health. What does that do for Emmett Mosley?
Because he was playing with some dude named Justin Lamson last year.
Yeah.
His first touchdown pass came from Justin Lamson.
It may sound crazy. I think Arch has a better arm than Justin. May sound crazy.
I mean, I could have just made that up, except who the hell's ever even heard of the last name Lamson?
You literally could have said any name in the world, and I would trust that that's the quarterback that he caught balls from. Because I certainly didn't look up that dude's name.
No, sir. No, sir.
No.
That just sounds fake. You got me, Chad. I tried to sneak that one by you.
You could have said any name you wanted. You could have said Keanu Reeves' name from The Replacements, and I would have not blinked. You could have done that. We got a super chat that creeped in. Thank you, Michael, for the $4.99 super chat. If it wasn't for Auburn, we wouldn't have had the Makuba pick to win it. Thanks, Bert. Lost a couple years off my life, but worth it. It's a weird way to look at it. Okay.
Hey, whatever helps you sleep at night.
Whatever gets you through it, Michael. Yes, Bert Auburn in the portal, as we talked about. Bert Auburn into the portal, Malik Agbo into the portal. And then, of course, the only thing technically that's come out of the portal for Texas is Emmett Mosley. We talked earlier about Levon Johnson visited Texas yesterday, the D lineman from Maryland, but that quickly went a different direction. He visits Texas on Thursday and then goes to North Carolina, like today on this Friday as we're talking to you, and commits to North Carolina.
How about just real quick, Jonte Cook, Anwar reporting. This has actually turned into quite the retweeted and shared piece of information. But Jonte Cook visiting Arizona State this weekend, looking at Houston, OU, BYU, Syracuse, Indiana, Arkansas. I think Arizona State would actually be a really good place for him to land.
Every team you just said is a Power 4 team too. That's what we were wondering, right? Did the second mistake, not that there was a mistake at Texas, but getting into the portal, the Washington thing being so quick, then you got the legal stuff. Is that we asked, is that going to notch him down into a different realm, into a G5, or does the talent stand out so much that Power 4s are going to be interested? It sounds like it's still Power 4. He's still got a shot, Catch. He's still got a shot to do what we said the other day. Take a breath, get out of your own way, let your talent be your talent, and stop messing with the other stuff. Just focus in, go catch footballs. You can do it at a big-time school.
I mean, it just goes to show you that if you're talented enough, you really will get opportunities. And I think the Marcus Burris kid's another example of that. You know, it's like it hasn't worked out for him really at 2 stops, but just don't step on your you-know-what.
Right. Go out to Arizona State and make it work. You're in the Big 12.
And then you may end up transferring again. I hate to say it, but you know, the way his career is going, that's a platform spot.
Yeah, just go. I mean, it's a big opportunity for a go show him, situation for him. You're going to get, we've seen it now with this the new Big 12 Catch. You're going to get some of those prime time late night kicks going. If you go to Arizona State, we saw a lot of that. It still freaks me out. Late night games with a Big 12 logo on the field. There's tons of them now, but he'll have those opportunities where you may be one of the very few games that are still on, but as long as people are staying up, hey, did you see what that guy at Arizona State did? Who's that guy? Oh, Jonte Cook. He was at Texas and, all that. And then you can rebuild the name. Yep. He's got a chance to do it. We'll see if he pulls it off.
I've got a question that I want to ask you, but I have it in buy or sell. So
okay.
I think I'm just going to have to wait and ask it in buy or sell.
Okay, we will do that. Buy or sell is definitely coming up. Before we get to buy or sell, Catch, tell the folks about Rogue Shop. We're headed into a weekend, and I was giving them ideas earlier about where they may want to go, but, they may just want to stay at home and get comfy with some Rogue Shop.
I mean, I'm getting baked this weekend. Sometimes it's as simple as that. You scan that QR code and you look for the thing that's going to help you take the edge off and get you going into the weekend in exactly the manner that you want to. Look, they are Texas's home for legal CBD, THC, and so much more. They got stuff for the pets. They got stuff for your parents. They got stuff for your aches and your pains and your anxiety and your sleeplessness and whatever it is that you need. They are Orange Blood sponsored. They have been for, it feels like a decade. They're owned by Orange Bloods that bleed every time the team wins and loses. You're going to spend your money somewhere. Spend it with someone who cares as much about Texas football as you do. Go to Rogue Shop. They'll take care of you and give you the best product, and you'll feel good about every step of the process.
I mean, I'm getting baked this weekend. That may be the best tagline I've ever heard. Shout out to Rogue Shop. Shout out to all of you for jumping in. Oh, look at Sailor Joe. Just fitting in a $1.99 super chat. What are your top 3 college football entrances or traditions? Wow. It's an interesting one. Top 3 college football entrances or traditions. Sailor
the
Joe.
Garden of the Eye at Ohio State's pretty badass.
That's a cool one. I've always loved the Clemson running down the hill. I can't believe they haven't.
That was another one that was coming to mind.
I can't believe they haven't ripped more ACLs doing it, but I love it. Every time I see it, it really that gets me. And I'll throw Ralphie in, Sailor Joe. I'm an animal mascot person. I love the animal mascots, but I really love that they run that damn buffalo out on a field. And I've always wanted to see it. Never been to Boulder to see it, but I'll throw Ralphie in too. I like that one.
I've got one honorary mention because it doesn't exist anymore, and then one has to be mentioned just to dig the blade in a little bit.
All right.
Number one, I don't think anything beat Miami in the late 80s, early 90s when they came out in the smoke.
Oh, yeah. So they kind of invented the smoke.
They're the original smoke.
Yeah, you're right.
And there was something about them coming out of the smoke that always made everybody else feel like pretending smoke. Like there was the real smoke show, and everybody else was trying to be that. And look, I have to give credit to Oklahoma. When that little schooner comes out and it flips over, it is for entertainment value.
Well,
nothing is better than when that homecoming queen or whoever she is sitting on the schooner when it turns over and she face plants.
See, Catch, you and I are pro wrestling fans. We appreciate the idea of that level of work. You turn it so that it crashes, but you get her to take that bump. Like that's a hell of a bump. She's got to land on the shoulder just right where she doesn't separate it, and she's in like a dress. It was impressive.
Future star is what they are.
Yeah. WrestleMania legend in the future is what she is.
Every time I've ever seen it, I get enjoyment out of it. Once I know it looks like they're moving, I allow myself to really enjoy it.
I think we need to have a documentary called When the Chuck Wagon Fell, and then let people document every time the Sooner Schooner has fallen over, because it's happened multiple times in our lives, and it makes us so happy. It's one of the happiest things that's ever happened. I've told you the story, Catch. I was in the Elite Cafe in Waco. We were on our way back from an A&M game. The game is on. The Sooner Schooner crashes back in like the late 80s, early 90s. The place, everybody laughs and it gets quiet. And this dude that's eating just looks at the screen and says, "Well, there is a God." And that was it. I can still remember it. It just makes you so happy when that thing falls over.
I love that no matter how many times it flips over, there's never any safety changes or we need to make sure that maybe a homecoming queen isn't in there taking the bump. When it happens, they don't care, man. YOLO.
They just go. They go. Big Cheddar threw in the Inner Sandman at Virginia Tech. That one's become a big deal. That one has become big. It's one of those that, I
don't think it's on the level of, like, for me, Clemson.
Yeah, it's not quite there. It's not quite there. The Tennessee thing where they split the T and run out. That was pretty cool. Like, there's a lot, man. College football is great for all that stuff. But those are some of the ones that, that jump out.
When A&M does the swaying thing, it's pretty cool, man, to be in it. Like, to see it is something. The first time you really experience it, I think eventually Texas fans feel like they've seen it enough that the sight of it, you get numb to it and you just think, oh, this is corny. But like the first time that you go to an A&M game and the first time it breaks out, it's not an entrance, I realize, but I kind of think of it as the beginning of a game and then obviously the beginning of the fourth quarter. So,
it's one of those things, Catch, that every time it happens, if I can catch it in pregame, I always look for a coach or player on the opposing team there's always one or two players that look up into the stands as if to say, where the hell am I? Like, what
that's what I'm saying.
Right? What planet have I landed on?
If you can make somebody feel that, you've got a good something. That is making somebody feel something.
It is a whole kind of feeling all by itself. All right. I think that is I don't see any other super chats right now. Catch anything else portal wise before we buy or sell?
Just in my buy or sell.
Okay, beautiful. You want to go first or second?
I'm going to go first because I'm going to stick with the A&M theme. I'm going out of order with how I wrote these down, but buy or sell number one. You keep wondering, where's A&M in all this portal discussion?
Yeah, I'll buy that. I mean, obviously they made the moves in the winter section, the receivers and stuff like that. But yeah, I've been kind of wondering where's that movement in the spring version. So I'm hoping in the next couple of days that I see a little more activity there, because I keep going down the list and I get to the same names. Like I get to Concepcion and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I know they got him from NC State, but that was a while ago. Yeah, I need some fresh A&M portal stories, please.
Buy or sell number two. Texas State kicker Mason Shipley just sounds like a guy that should kick for Texas and be the son of a guy that was roommates with someone named McCoy at a school in West Texas.
How could I possibly sell that when you went that far into creating it? Buy. Absolute buy. It sounds like that so much, Catch. People have convinced themselves that he's Jordan Shipley's little brother. I read that and I'm like, wait a second, hold on. Yeah. Oh, yes, no, he's a twin. He's the twin brother of Jordan. Like, wait, hold on. You're telling me there's Jordan and Jackson, but then there's twins in the family we never knew about, and they're both kickers? When did that happen? No. Different Shipley family. Apparently there's like 3 sons and they all kick. But yes, he should kick at Texas. Mason Shipley's a great name for a Texas kicker. People will say he's related to Jordan Shipley his entire career. We'll correct them the whole time. It'll be great. Bye.
That kid's getting laid. That kid may have already gotten laid a couple of times. Living in the Central Texas area and your last name is Shipley.
Come on. Another Shipley legend from this area. Let's do it.
And if he comes to Houston, they'll ask him if he's related to the donut guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of a name of royalty in this state when you think about it for multiple reasons.
Shipley, huh? Football or donuts? Yeah.
Both.
Both. Oh my God. You're the donut football guy.
Buy or sell number 3. If Texas has 5 and only 5 more scholarships to give out, you're going 2 tight ends, a wide receiver, a D tackle, and a kicker.
Okay, 5 more to give out. So Mosley's in, 2 and a 1 and yeah. That's a buy. That's a buy. It's going to need
nothing else you would tweak.
No, because they got Mosley. Because they've got if they didn't have any receivers, they would change that. But
then
you got
they'd have 6, and then you could go 2-2, 1-1.
Right, exactly. If it was 6, right, I would get add 1. But no, I like that as a 5 because I feel like we've discussed it. They got to find a D tackle, however that's possible. Now, obviously, they need the kicker now, unless they're going to go with Stone and then receiver 2 tight ends, all the 12 personnel. Yeah, yep, that's it. Bye.
Buy or sell number 4. The NBA playoffs are here, and you don't care.
You know what? I have to sell this one, Catch. I do care on a couple levels. First off, I am a Mavs fan, and they're not in yet. They're not in yet. Tonight's the night, right? Mavs trying to actually get in as an 8 seed tonight. So I got to care a little bit there. Plus, there's some stories around the league that I admit I'm paying attention to. Luka with the Lakers, I'll peek in on that. I heard a report. I listened to Brian Windhorst today tell me that Kawhi Leonard is as healthy as he's been since he was in Toronto, and he looked really excited about that series. That kind of got me interested, and the Lakers are playing Memphis. So, yeah, I'm selling. I do care about the NBA playoffs, and there are a couple, there's some ingredients in there I'm digging.
All right, and finally, buy or sell number 5. Ryan Coogler's new movie, Sinners, is out in the movie theaters. It's getting rave reviews starring Michael B. Jordan, and you'll go see it in the theater.
Oh, good Lord. Capital SELL, sell. No way. No chance. Every time I see the preview and that girl with the blood all over her face just looks maniacally into the camera and says, like, we're going to kill all of y'all. Nope, I'm good. Thanks. I'm out. I'm going to send my wife to that one and let her tell me what it's about. I want to sleep soundly at night. I am not going to see Sinners.
Rave reviews, Chad. Rave reviews.
I'm sure it's awesome, Catch. And I love a lot of the people in that movie. Every time I see the preview, I go, oh, love him, love her too. Oh, he's great. But there's no chance I'm seeing that movie. No chance. Pardon the weird pun-ish comment, but no chance in hell that I'm seeing Sinners. Not happening.
I'm just telling you, rave reviews.
You go see it for me. And you tell me what it is, because I am not going to see that movie. No way.
Bill Simmons thought Sinners was just tremendous. Sam Vinici, NBA reporter. Guys, go see Sinners on a big screen as soon as possible and go see it now. My goodness, what a movie.
Good for them. Good for them. Y'all can have it. Can't do it.
I can't
do it.
Are you sure?
I can't do it. I can't do it. Now, if you go see the movie and you come back to me and say, like, look, Chad, I know you saw Get Out. And if you can get through Get Out, you can get through this movie.
Was that the bar? Could you get through Get Out?
Yes.
Okay.
I got through Get Out. I got through Get Out one time all the way through, and I was able to sleep afterwards. So, yeah. And I don't even need that much comedy. I need it to be you got to really stay on the suspense, and you can scare me a little bit, but we can't go total gore, slasher fest. We can't do that. So if you want to go see it and then recommend, you go right ahead.
This is a review. Okay.
Okay.
Sinners is so damn good. It's got the power to make you fall in love with the movies again.
Oh,
epic,
grief.
Sexy, soulful, cool as hell vampire picture that keeps getting better. Very rare for a true visionary to get the kind of money needed to paint an original horror masterpiece like this.
Damn. Okay. I'll tell you, my wife is going to thoroughly enjoy it. I just don't know if I will.
Okay. All right. Well, those are my 5.
All right, Catch. Here we go. Let's start in the portal. Buy or sell number 1. Unless a higher level of talent gets in this portal, D-tackle will be a big concern for Texas in 2025.
I'm going to sell. I don't think a big concern. I think they're okay. I don't think they've got a difference maker on that group, but I think it's serviceable, and I think it'll be surrounded by elite talent. So I don't view it as a big concern. I think it's an area they could get better in, though.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Catch. Buy or sell number 2. The memories of Bert Auburn as a Longhorn will be more positive than negative.
So, people are going to remember the end. It's not fair, but I think it's the reality.
Yeah, I wish you were wrong. I think you're right, but I do wish you were wrong, because you mentioned it, the all-time records and all that stuff. The hair and the suit.
He'll be a guy that people want records to be broken as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I think you might be right. All right, Catch. Buy or sell number 3. This weekend, I'm going to see Pat Benatar in concert. If you could only hear her play one song, it would be Heartbreaker.
So.
All right, what's your Pat Benatar go-to?
Hit me with your best shot. Fire away.
I am looking forward to that one as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've never seen Pat, so this will be the first time. All right, Catch. Buy or sell number 4. Outside of the 2 main events, you can name a match at WrestleMania 41. We'll even accept half credit if you can tell me one wrestler. If you're struggling and you want to just guess a wrestler's name, we'll give you half credit.
Gunther is wrestling.
Oh, come on. Go. Let's see if you can get there. Come on. It's for a big belt and everything. Gunther against who's the babyface? Don't make me say the word. If I say the word, you'll know what word is being used for this guy that's way overdone. It's way past its prime as a word. They put it on the t-shirts and sunglasses.
I mean, it's somebody I don't care about.
Every time he talks to the crowd, he says them, and then they say, huh? And he keeps talking, and they say the word again. Huh? Come on, Catch. 4 letters. What's the word? If I say the word yeet, does it tell you? If I tell you he's the yeet guy.
No, but I'm not in anymore, am I? Like I've lost.
If I don't, hang on, we're almost there. If I tell you he was part of a tag team and they're twin brothers, does that help you?
I mean,
and they're cousins of Roman Reigns and The Rock.
Is it Seth Rollins?
Oh, it's not. It is
Wait,
not.
It's the Jay Uso guy.
There you go. There it is. See, you got there. Eventually, I gave you every hint except his mama's name, but yeah, well done. Well done. WrestleMania weekend this weekend. All right, Catch, I am combining 3 hotties' birthdays. These are different kinds of hotties, so we're going to see if I got the triple threat right.
I enjoyed you going through.
Did you like that? Yeet. Okay, here we go, Catch. Buy or sell number 5. Tomorrow, Ashley Judd, Kate Hudson, and Candace Parker all share a birthday. Prime on prime. Ashley hotter than Candace, who's hotter than Kate. Buy or sell?
Sell. I don't think Ashley Judd is hotter than Kate Hudson.
Okay, so you'd go Kate. You go Kate in the first position, maybe?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Happy birthday to all 3 of those ladies. In whatever their prime is, I don't care what you think their prime is. All 3 of those ladies have some prime.
I
talk about.
I've always thought that Ashley Judd's slightly overrated.
Is that right?
Not love her. You know what I mean? Like, I think she's great. I just,
A little overrated.
I think sometimes, like, you see the Kentucky stuff.
Yeah.
And you would go, she's a perfectly beautiful, normal person.
So what's your Kate Hudson? Is it the 10 ways to lose a guy, Kate Hudson? Is that the one?
Yeah, man.
Right? Yeah.
That's her Keira Knightley Love Actually moment, where she's captured in the yellow dress in such a way that she just looks like $10 billion.
Because here's the credit we have to give her there. When you can hang looks-wise with Matthew in a rom-com, you're a hottie, right? Like, you have to be a certain level of hottie because Matthew's never going to show up to set ugly. It's just not going to happen. So you have to meet him kind of at that level, and she does a great job of that.
When she's in that dress.
No, you're right. No, the dress is unbelievable.
It is decades later still show-stopping memorable. Where you're like, whoa, okay.
Before we get out of here, Tracy snuck us in a super chat. Thank you, Tracy. Super chat for $5. With Corso retiring, your favorite college game day Corso moment. Buy or sell. 1, Anya Taylor-Joy is a 6. Oh, wait, he's doing multiple things here. Buy or sell. 1, Anya Taylor-Joy is a 6. Number 2, Martin Lawrence funnier than Eddie Murphy. Okay, wait a second. What are we doing here? Oh, I see what you're saying. It's the first part. Okay, hold on. We'll stop. Favorite college game day Corso moment. Let's stop there. Catch, do you have one? Because I easily have one.
So what is it?
It's when he said the F word. That was my favorite. It was at Houston, I believe, as well, when he had the megaphone and he said, F it. And then he threw that, and Kirk Herbstreit almost fell out of that chair.
Yeah.
And they still they didn't even think about suspending him or firing him. That's how big a deal Lee Corso was at that moment. That's my favorite that I can think of.
I don't really have one.
Okay.
Off the top of my head. I mean, I'm sure if we were to go down, that came to my mind, but I wouldn't say it's like my favorite. I need some time to think about it.
All right. Buy or sell. Anya Taylor-Joy is a 6. I would sell that.
That's a sell.
That's a sell. I mean, she may not be Tracy's cup of tea, but I would not go that low, Tracy. I would go higher than that. And number 2, Martin Lawrence funnier than Eddie Murphy. Buy or sell?
Sell.
I would sell it. Yeah.
Sell.
I would sell it.
No, man, look, Martin Lawrence had exactly the career he was supposed to have, and Eddie Murphy had exactly the career he was supposed to have.
Yeah. I will say this, Tracy, they each have, it's ironic, they each have a comedy set in weird leather outfits that I would recommend to anyone. Eddie Murphy, Raw, and Martin Lawrence, what's that one called? You're So Crazy, I think.
Yeah.
I think they're both legendary. I'd put Raw above Martin's, but they were both really, really good. And if you haven't seen both of them in Boomerang, do that tonight, because I think that's one of the best Eddie Murphy movies, and Martin is one of the reasons why. Tracy, thank you very much for a late.
Rachel.
That's racial. The white ball, for the game's not over until the white ball puts the it's racial. When he's cooking that chicken, that's one of the funniest things in that movie to me. When the everything's bubbling and popping and the flowers flying all over the room. Oh my God. Also, shout out to Boomerang, as we always say, for trying to make us believe that Halle Berry wasn't really that good looking for like 3/4 of a movie. Well done. Well played.
They tried.
They really did. I love when they ugly duckling the true hotties, and they tried hard with her in that movie, but it didn't quite work.
Well, it was weird because the thing is, it's like one of the few movies ever made where there's just it's like all black people. There's no white people in the movie, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
What they thought they would do is we'll give them so many black people in the movie, they won't notice that the prettiest one is the one we're trying to pretend isn't that pretty.
Yeah, they threw prime Robin Givens at you. They threw the other Vanessa Williams. That other, isn't that what her name is? Isn't she the other Vanessa Williams? Or is that maybe I'm mixing
Vanessa
her up.
Williams? It wasn't Vanessa Williams married to Rick Fox and
no. But there's another Vanessa Williams, but I think I'm mixing them up. I think the other Vanessa Williams is the one that was in the Cosby Show. I can't remember the actress's name that's walking the dog in the park.
Oh yeah. I always forget her name too. The Waiting to Exhale girl. I can't remember her name.
She is breathtaking.
That's Sunshine.
Oh, she's right. She's breathtaking in that movie.
That's Sunshine.
Yes, that's Sunshine, and I cannot remember.
Layla Rashawn is her name.
Thank you, Layla Rashawn. They put her in that movie to distract you and keep your attention away from. And then you could tell early in the movie, it's like, okay, we can't have Halle wearing any makeup at all. We're gonna just plane this woman up as much as we can. We know what we're working with. All right, I think we're done. Catch anything else we need to hit today?
No, because I gotta go find out have I missed anything in the last hour plus.
Yeah, portal stuff never stops. Remember, Football with Friends at 6 this evening. And then Monday morning, the Overreaction Show should be wild with Ketch and Anwar. That's Mondays at 9 on Orange Bloods Live. Thank you all for liking, subscribing, getting your notifications. Like it on the way in, or like it on the way out, rather. If you didn't like it on the way in, we appreciate you. We're almost to 25,000 subscribers. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you all for jumping in. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy WrestleMania. And we will talk on Monday at noon. It's House Divided. And this is Orange Bloods Live. See ya.